Do you use your microwave every single day? Do you heat up your meals, reheat your morning coffee, warm up last night's leftovers? Do you do it without thinking twice, the same way you'd flip on a light switch? Then what I'm about to tell you today is something you should have known a long time ago. Because there is a real risk associated with microwave use. A risk that has nothing to do with what you think, and one that most people unknowingly repeat every single day. I'm Adam Smith from Virtual Health, and today I'm going to reveal something that very few people explain clearly about the appliance you use most in your kitchen. But I need you to stay until the very end, because the most important point, the one that actually matters, is coming in the second half of this video. If you close this before we get there, everything I explained beforehand won't make complete sense, and what you need to change in your kitchen starting today, you simply won't know. So stay with me from the beginning. Let's start with a number that very few people stop to think about. There are over 1.5 billion microwaves currently in use around the world. In many households, there are more microwaves than washing machines. It has become the most used appliance in the modern kitchen. It heats breakfast, warms up leftovers, reheats coffee, defrosts dinner. It's fast, it's convenient, it's efficient. And it's exactly that convenience that stops people from ever asking whether they're using it correctly. Because the problem with the microwave is not the microwave itself, not exactly. The real problem is something that happens inside it, something you put in there without thinking, something that, at high temperatures, can release chemical compounds directly onto your food. Compounds that some studies have associated with hormonal disruption, cellular damage, and in certain cases, the development of abnormal cells. Are you beginning to see where this is going? But before I reveal the central point, I need you to understand how a microwave actually works. Because without that foundation, nothing that follows will fully connect. And without the full picture, the final advice won't land the way it should. Microwaves operate through non-ionizing radiation. Microwave radiation consists of low-frequency electromagnetic waves that cause the water molecules inside food to vibrate rapidly. That vibration generates heat. That's why a microwave heats food from the inside out, the opposite of a conventional oven. And this is where a lot of people get confused. When they hear the word radiation, they get scared. They think of nuclear power plants. They think of X-rays. They think of something dangerous and penetrating that damages DNA. But microwave radiation is non-ionizing. It simply does not carry enough energy to break molecular bonds or to alter the genetic material inside cells. Does that mean your microwave is completely harmless? That's not what I said, because the real danger is not in the waves themselves. It's in something far more concrete, something you put inside the microwave every single day. Something that, under intense heat, does something to your food that you would never want if you could see it happening. But first, I want you to pay attention to the signals, because the body always communicates. And in many cases, what we dismiss as minor inconveniences or things that come with age could be connected to chronic low-level exposure to certain substances. Do you experience persistent fatigue that doesn't improve with rest? Hormonal fluctuations, mood swings, unusual sensitivities or changes you can't fully explain. Digestive discomfort that tends to appear after eating reheated meals. Headaches that come and go without a clear trigger. A general sense that something isn't quite right, even when basic blood work comes back normal. I'm not saying the microwave causes all of those things. That would be irresponsible of me. What I am saying is that everyday environmental factors have a cumulative impact on the body over time. And one of the most overlooked ones is sitting right there in your kitchen. Keep watching, because now we start connecting the dots. Let's talk about the most common mistakes, because people make mistakes with microwaves that are not minor, and they make them every single day. The first mistake, and the most widespread, is heating food in plastic containers. Any type of plastic. The takeout container from last night, the yogurt cup, the deli container, the lightweight plastic plate, all of them. Because when plastic is heated, it releases chemical compounds into the food, and that chemical migration is invisible. You can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it. It happens silently, directly onto what you're about to eat. The second mistake is using plastic wrap to cover food inside the microwave. Plastic film in direct contact with hot food is a well-documented source of chemical migration, and yet almost everyone does it without a second thought. The third mistake is heating food in the same styrofoam or polystyrene containers they came in. The foam coffee cup, the takeout box. These containers are designed to hold food cold or at room temperature, not to withstand microwave heat. The fourth mistake is reusing single-use plastic containers. Those bottles, trays and lids labeled single-use that many people wash and reuse for heating or storing hot food. Why are all of these a problem? Because they all have one thing in common, and this is where we get to the heart of today's video. The answer is called BPA, bisphenol A, and if you don't know what that is, you need to know right now. Bisphenol A is a chemical compound used in the manufacturing of many hard plastics and resin linings. It was synthesized in the 1950s, and since then it has been present in thousands of everyday products: bottles, food storage containers, canned food linings, takeout containers, and plastic wrap. The problem is that BPA is an endocrine disruptor. That means it mimics estrogen. It interferes with the body's hormonal system. It can alter cellular signaling in ways that are neither simple nor trivial. The International Agency for Research on Cancer has examined on multiple occasions the relationship between endocrine disrupting chemicals and the risk of certain cancers, particularly breast cancer and prostate cancer. Because the hormonal system plays a direct role in regulating cell growth, and when that system is chronically and persistently disrupted, the consequences may not be immediate, but they are not minor either. A study published in Environmental Health Perspectives analyzed the migration of BPA from plastic containers into food at different temperatures. The conclusion was clear. Heat significantly accelerates the release of BPA into food, and a microwave is exactly that, an intense source of heat applied directly to a plastic container. Let me tell you about a patient of mine. I'll call her Margaret. 73 years old, organized, conscientious, careful with her health. She always told me she ate well, looked after herself, took her medications. At some point during a consultation, I asked her how she reheated her meals. She said, "Always in the microwave. It's just so much faster." I asked her what container she used. She said with complete matter-of-factness, "My regular plastic containers, the ones I've had for about 15 years. 15 years. 15 years of direct microwave heat applied to the same plastic containers twice a day. I explained to her what I'm explaining to you right now, and her reaction was silence. That particular silence that comes when something completely ordinary, something you've never given a second thought, suddenly takes on a completely different weight. What followed was a simple change, but one she described as one of the most important she had made in years. And there is something else about BPA that very few people know, something manufacturers have absolutely no interest in publicizing. Many plastics that now say BPA-free on the label contain other compounds from the same chemical family: BPS, BPF, phthalates. Different names, same mechanism of action. Different molecules, same capacity to mimic hormones and disrupt the endocrine system. Research published in Environmental Science and Technology evaluated over 400 plastic products labeled as BPA-free and found that the vast majority still released compounds with estrogenic activity when heated. That means switching to a BPA-free plastic container without switching away from plastic altogether may solve nothing at all. And phthalates deserve their own moment here, because they are just as important and far less known. Phthalates are plasticizers, substances added to plastic to make it more flexible. They are found in plastic wrap, in many soft packaging materials, in food covers and cling films. They are also endocrine disruptors. They also migrate with heat, and they have also been the subject of research in relation to oncological risk, particularly in hormone-sensitive systems. The National Toxicology Program of the United States has flagged several phthalates as substances of concern due to their potential effects on human health. Not as absolute certainty, but as a warning signal that deserves serious attention. This could be happening in your kitchen right now, without you noticing, without any visible sign, without a single alarm going off. So what do we do? Do we throw the microwave out? No. The microwave itself, used correctly, is a safe appliance. The problem is not the machine. The problem is what we put inside it, and that has a simple, practical, and affordable solution. First, replace plastic containers with glass containers. Glass releases absolutely nothing when heated. It doesn't migrate, it doesn't react. It is the safest material for reheating food, and the only one that gives you a real guarantee that what reaches your plate is nothing but the food itself. Second, if glass isn't immediately available, use ceramic without metallic decorations. Ceramic is equally safe and releases no compounds when heated. Third, never use plastic wrap in direct contact with food inside the microwave. If you need to cover food to prevent splattering, use an upside-down ceramic plate, a paper towel, or a glass lid. Fourth, discard plastic containers that are scratched, warped, or discolored. Damaged plastic releases significantly more compounds than undamaged plastic. If your container has seen 2 or 3 years of heavy daily use, it has run its course. Fifth, never heat food in the original takeout container, in styrofoam cups, or in disposable plastic trays. Even if they say microwave safe, that label means the container won't melt. It does not mean it is chemically inert in contact with your food. A study from the Food Safety Program at the University of Michigan evaluated the difference in chemical migration between food heated in plastic containers versus glass containers under identical microwave conditions. The difference was significant. In glass containers, the migration of detectable compounds into the food was virtually non-existent. In plastic containers, including some labeled as microwave safe, the levels of detectable compounds in the food were consistently higher at elevated temperatures. This is not a theory, it is measurable chemistry. And before I close, I want to say something that matters deeply to me and that I make a point of saying in every video. This video is information. It is not a diagnosis. It does not replace a conversation with your doctor. If you have concerns about your health, your family history, or your exposure to environmental factors, the most important step is always a conversation with a professional who knows you and can evaluate you directly. Everybody is different. Cumulative exposure varies from person to person, and health decisions are always made better with both information and professional guidance working together. Let's recap everything we covered today. The microwave itself is not the villain in this story. The non-ionizing radiation it uses does not carry the energy required to directly damage DNA. But what does have the capacity to cause harm is the migration of chemical compounds from plastics into food when heated. BPA, phthalates, and related compounds in the bisphenol family are endocrine disruptors that interfere with the hormonal system and that some studies have associated with increased risk of certain cancers. The change is straightforward. Glass and ceramic instead of plastic, always, without exceptions. A glass container can cost just a few dollars. A decision made today can create a meaningful difference accumulated over years. If this video changed the way you look at your kitchen, share it with someone who needs to hear it. With the family member who reheats everything in the same old plastic container. With the person who covers their plate with plastic wrap without a second thought. The right information at the right moment changes habits, and habits change health. I'm Adam Smith from Virtual Health. Take good care of yourself. This content is informational and educational and does not replace consultation with a healthcare professional. If you experience any persistent symptoms or have concerns about your health, always consult your trusted doctor.